now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
All right. Good morning, folks. Let's get it. Let's get it. How are you guys doing? It is a wonderful, beautiful Thursday morning. Not as, what is that noise? I hear a noise in the studio. I'm like, what the heck is that? Not as, not as windy as it has been. I'm kind of looking at the window. There's a big tree. Well, let me not say that because of course the wind just picked up again. I was going to say that there is a big tree outside of my window, and I always can sort of look at the swaying of the leaves on that tree. It's a huge mango tree, to determine what the weather is going to be like today and exactly how windy it is. So it's a little windy. Yes, I see it. So listen. Last night, you guys might have seen that Wayne Pampton had to cancel his political meeting because, crazy enough, the wind was kicking up so much that they couldn't put up his signs. Like they're erecting these, what do you call them? you know how they have the metal frames and all this stuff for like the backdrop of the actual meeting. So they couldn't do that. The wind was too high for the screen to go up. And so that has caused a delay in his launch of his first meeting, which was scheduled to be out by ICCI. So he has rescheduled it. I think some people were still anxious and they went out there and they're like, where's the meeting? I had like one person message me and I said, yeah, you know, we had posted it to say that it had been delayed, I think until next week, Wednesday. So stay tuned, folks, here on CMR. We try to advise you of meetings and all of the details in terms of when things are coming up so that you can keep track of your schedule. Because I know how much you guys absolutely love going to meetings, going to all these functions and hearing what people have going on. Now, don't forget that Captain Eugene has a Latino night coming up. He hasn't expressly invited anyone else other than the Latino community, but I still think that we should all go out there and pretend like we're Latino. I mean, I think I've got a grandfather who is from like Nicaragua or something. So does that count? Am I able to say that I'm 0.25% Latino? I don't know. Ordinarily, I wouldn't consider myself Latino, or Latina. But for the purposes of a good party, I mean, is there going to be like cha-cha, merengue, salsa? What are we talking about here? And heaven forbid, there's going to be Latino food. You know, I love me some good food, Latino or otherwise. I'm thinking that I should be there for that sort of thing. What do you guys think? Let's see who's with us. 81 people already online. 7 minutes into the program. We have straight out of the barn, Miss Morna. She's the first one. Miss Morna, do you have your CMR mug handy with some coffee or tea? I know I've got mine. Good morning to the beautiful Olivia. Hello, David. How are you? David's looking good. We've got Larry from New York. Larry also has a CMR mug. He was able to get one all the way to New York. Can you imagine? Yes, indeed. Because before we even had our suppliers ship them to us, we said, make sure Larry gets one. So Larry's all set. Who else do we have here this morning? We've got Felicia looking good. Good morning. Felicia, Jackie, Miss Maureen is here. The beautiful Miss Sandia, who's still waiting for her mug, is here. Do not worry. I have certainly not forgotten you. You will be getting yours in due course. Big shout out to Miss Rhonda over at Kelly Holdings. She has been super, super busy, folks. A lot of marketing companies are busy right now, just trying to get stuff done, making sure that all the candidates are sorted out with what they need. I have noticed some of your comments, by the way, about who the progressives have been using for their marketing. And the comment is they're not using any local talent, which is unfortunate, even to put up their signs. Apparently, they haven't been using any local talent. Well, let me tell you what's going on. They're actually using marketing people who have, I think one woman was a stay-at-home mom until recently, but she claims that she has 1 or 2 years experience working for Tower Marketing or some other firm that she used to work for. And she is so confused that apparently when she contacted Radio came out about advertising, she doesn't even understand how streaming works. So I had to chuckle to myself when someone was sharing that story. You know, a lot of people still do business at Radio came out. Of course, they're the island's oldest radio station, government owned. And so in some sense, I guess it makes sense for government to spend money with their own government-owned radio station. But they need to hire marketing people who know a little bit about the history of the Cayman Islands, especially when it comes to this sort of thing, right? Election time, Miss Debbie and Miss Bonnie, is a big time for people to put their messages out there. But you also need people who appreciate the local landscape and who kind of understand how to market to locals, because the vast majority of people who are voting for you, you know, they have status, so they've been here a really long time. And, you know, they're also, in most instances, multi-generational Caymanians. So Richie, good morning from Celine and Richard. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Good morning to Donna. Louise joining us from Detroit. Oh yes, Richie, he's got some Italian biscuits for you. Oh yeah, we need to get that going. Yes, Richie. Thank you for reminding me. I think my camera is still off this morning. This camera is so temperamental. Sometimes it just doesn't want to come on. So yes, Richie, we definitely need to link up over those biscuits. There we go. Oh, what's going on with the back of the hair today? Couldn't you guys tell me that I look like a mad woman? How's that? Oh, this hair, I'm going through a phase right now where it was recently cut, and I'm going on natural, so no straightening chemicals or anything of the sort. But I still need to. There we go. I still need to do things like blow dry it and hot curling it and all this kind of craziness. I did that yesterday, and it still looks a little bit crazy this morning. So Richie, we definitely need to link up. What's up, me? Let's see how today goes. Brianna, thank you so much. I also want to remind you guys, remember last week we were talking about our elderly community kind of getting left behind a little bit with technology. Well, I am so pleased to tell you guys that I have been working hard in the background trying to get this off the ground and to get this going. I've made some good headway. We've ordered some equipment that is coming. So some streaming devices are on the way. And thank you so much for the people who listen to this program and who really step up to the plate. So we have a donor who has assisted with the first batch of purchasing the devices. And he wishes to remain anonymous, which is fine because a lot of donors don't care to get any credit for all the wonderful stuff that they always do in the community. But I think he's probably listening to the program as he often tunes in on YouTube. So big shout out to our YouTube crowd. We've got a few people over there watching this morning. So big thank you to that individual. We're going to get streaming devices going here. And if you know of anyone who is a senior, at this point, they do have to have internet. We're hoping that maybe we can partner with one of the ISPs for the elderly community who doesn't have internet to see what we can do. But for now, they need to have internet, and we will ensure that they get sorted out where they can watch the press briefings, they can watch Radio Cayman, they can watch anybody who has an online presence who is streaming their content. And if it's available, especially through mediums like YouTube, then, they're more than, we are more than capable of helping them get there with what's coming. So here's our little promo video for this. Have a look at this, folks, and spread the word. All right, folks. So again, if you know of any elderly person, we'll start with the areas that have, or the individuals that have internet. Please, by all means, give us a shout. We can add them to the list. We've already done one person in the East End, and she is tickled pink. Shout out to Flo. She was able to get Flo sorted out this week, and now she is able to listen to her program and other content right on her TV. So it's nice and big. A lot of our elderly community do not have, it's difficult for them sometimes to use phones or tablets because of sight issues. And so they're very much used to traditional TV. And the beauty of these devices is you just press like okay to play your YouTube channel. And it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. Good morning to Tracy. Jennifer's in the BRAC. Hey girl, what are you doing in the BRAC? Brianna said she is ready for today's show. Tracy's locked in, of course. Tracy, we need to get you your mug as well. Louis is locked in at 63 degrees in Detroit this morning. That's not too bad. That's like weather. I don't know. That's not even a sweater weather. That's more like a turtleneck kind of day. Yes. I used to love to wear turtlenecks back in the day in Tampa. I got to tell you. Elizabeth, buenos dias. Miss Julie says, morning, San. All in all. So good morning to Irvelin. Irvelin is getting rolled out of bed, looks like. Julie says, love my captain. He fixed them. Is this Captain Eugene that we're talking about? Because I think he has confused a lot of people. So good morning to Barbara. And Jennifer says she's living her best life. And I say, why not? That's what life is all about, folks. You know what else has confused me about this campaign? Has anybody else noticed the wording that the progressive is using on their marketing stuff? So they're saying the alliance, they call themselves the alliance this time. So it's no longer unity government. This is all fanciful marketing. Now it's the alliance of progressives and independents. I think they should have just stuck with unity, like unity campaign or something, because that is just weird. Like everyone is asking me, what does that mean even? Well, what it means is they're trying to work with independents, but those independents are not willing to give up their status as independents. And then it's just confusing. Like it doesn't make any sense, because if you're working with the PPM, even at this early stage, are you really an independent? Like they're helping some of the guys fund their campaign. The signage that they're putting up for them, you can tell it's being done by the exact same people that have done the PPM sign. So they're using the same marketing team and the whole nine yards. So it is very, very peculiar in terms of what they're saying. Big shout out to Chad, by the way. Chad, okay, so Chad, seems the group is not registered. What group are we referring to? All right, so I'm getting some messages here that I clearly need to read offline. Okay. All right, okay, I got you. All right, folks, so Mr. Chad did a video basically talking about how he's not going to sell his vote. And I do want to pull that video up here this morning because it is making the rounds in the world of social media and pretty much gone viral already. And let me just show you guys his video, basically saying that he's not going to be selling his vote for any amount of money in the world because he is a person who's looking for solutions in the community. So I was really pleased that Chad took the time to put this video together. A lot of you will know Chad as a young man who does a lot of comedy skits. Very, very talented young man. And he's funny as well. I mean, during COVID, he gave us a couple super funny videos. Right. So someone is saying that the PPM Alliance is not a registered group. Well, this is what I'm telling you. This is why they've utterly confused everyone, because I wouldn't expect it to be, because it's not a party. It is the progressives plus independents. And they're just calling themselves the Alliance. And people don't understand what the Alliance is. It's just weird. Very, very bizarre. That's all I can tell you about that situation, folks. But let's have a look at Chad's video this morning. Shout out to Chad.
And I want my vote and to do something about the discrimination that Caymanians face on a day-to-day basis within the workforce. And to do something about the bullying within the schools. Then you can talk to me. You do something about the unemployed people of my community. And I'm not talking about after COVID, I'm talking about before it. Because it's been going on for years. We vote you guys in and you guys go up there and you argue about nothing and make no changes. I'm tired of it, man. It's 2021. I can barely afford groceries, light, water, and I'm paying somebody else's mortgage. You wanna know why? Because I can't even afford a house. I got my mother and my father asking me why you don't have a house. Your Cayman is no longer for Caymanians. And it hurts my heart to see that Cayman is no longer for us. What children have.
All right, folks. So that is Chad Brown. Thank you so much, Chad. One of these days, we got to get Chad on the program because honestly, like I said, he does a lot of comedic content most often. And this video is obviously a very, very serious video. But I think it speaks to how seriously people are going to be taking this election, hopefully, because, we've got a lot at stake. I mean, let's be honest here. It is very, very powerful, short, powerful. And thank you so much, Tracy. Tracy says, I love it. This is fantastic and long overdue. I'd be happy to promote. Oh, right. For the elderly program. Yes. So I'm really, really excited. Tracy, maybe you can be one of the individuals who actually goes into the homes and just kind of show them how to do it. So what we will do, Tracy, just to kind of explain how it's going to work, is we are actually going to set up YouTube for them where they have a Gmail account. We can log into YouTube, and then that essentially allows them to actually save like their favorites within YouTube. I know Tracy understands what I'm saying, because otherwise, every single time you go into YouTube, you have to search every time for the content that you're looking for. But if we set up an account for them, then they're able to merely save that. And then as they open up the YouTube app, it's right there in their favorites. You just click on the specific video that they want, and they should be good to go. So, yes, I think that that's a workable situation. I've just got to get the devices here. So that order will go through today. And then once that order goes through and we have them on island, probably about a week to actually get them here, then we can look forward to actually rolling out the plan of distribution. And, most of these smart devices, you can listen to radio stations all over the world. It's limitless, really, in terms of what you can do. Of course, we don't want to overwhelm our elderly folks, so we will only give them what they can handle and what they need, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So some will be, listen, I have an aunt who's 70 something years old, and she's she's a firecracker, and she's with it when it comes to the technology. So someone like her, it would be so much easier for her to pick up something like this and figure it out. And then I get that there is a little bit of an experience gap with some other elderly members of the community, seniors, golden, whatever politically correct word we want to use for them, because someone said maybe seniors isn't the right word, but you guys know what I mean. Older adults. Good morning to the beautiful Jean. How are you? Melinda says that video is very powerful. Anne says very sad video. It hurts my heart too, Chad. Yeah, I mean, these are the things that we need to really be discussing. And I'm so glad that Chad took the opportunity to use his platform, because he is on Instagram and he's got a huge following. And he did send us the video and shared the video with us. And we do have it up on both of our Instagram and Facebook pages as well. And I've sent it out to my WhatsApp news group because, there's truth in what his video has said. Jessica says that the video has given her cold chills when she saw it. It's very powerful. There's a sense of honesty there that, it's real. So good morning to Miss Anne. So nice to see you. Donna says, OMG, that broke my heart. It's so true. Tracy says, very profound and emotional video. The message is strong and well overdue and powerful. Vote for your future, Cayman. The time is now. And a lot of people are telling you to vote for change if you want to see something different. But I tell you what, last night, did anybody else catch the debates last night, the chamber-sponsored candidate forums? Last night was very, very interesting, because I think that last night's candidates all on that particular, like on the debate, were really, really strong. It was good. I mean, the night before Northside, you could kind of see people rising above each other in the Northside debate. There was a clear loser in the North Side debate. But last night, it was legit like, wow. Austin obviously is very experienced in debates, and he's had a radio show for many, many years. And I suppose that has certainly prepared him for being able to speak well in public and handle debates. The interesting thing, I was actually saying this to my husband last night about debates, right? Some people have a natural gift for gab, as we call it, for talking, and other people not so much so, and they have to develop those talents, but they know in their heads what they want to say. And, sometimes they will use notes to kind of remind them of the points that they want to make because they know that they're going to easily forget. And let us be honest, when you get to a certain age, it's probably in your best interest to jot down some notes in any event, just in case, right? So I thought that the performance of everyone on the panel last night, Sabrina Turner, Michael Miles, and Austin Harris, was all quite decent and up to par. There was a couple little things that I saw as mishaps, but I also tend to view these things with a very different lens than the average viewer. So a lot of you are private messaging me saying, whoa, they're so glad that they don't have to vote Prospect, my apologies, because they really thought that the choice it's going to be a tough choice. And I thought that was so interesting for those comments to be made. But yeah, it was a very, very good. If you haven't seen it, folks, go back on Facebook under the video section and you can review any of the debates, any of the forums that you'd like to. So good morning to Mr. Robert Bodden. Marshall is here. Marshall says it's up to the voters if they really want change. Don't just talk about change, make the change, go out and vote smart. So some good sage advice. Thank you so much. And I'm actually drinking some tea this morning. Same tea I had yesterday because it was so delicious. Some fresh honey from my husband's farm in Jamaica. I know he's a farm boy. He's a country boy. So they actually produce, I don't even know what's going on with the honey now because his father did pass away, bless his heart. Actually, I think tomorrow's the anniversary of his passing. He did pass away last March quite suddenly, just as we had gone into lockdown. It was just so unbelievable, like the timing, right? But we have a stockpile of honey that he always used to send us. So big shout out to Mr. Hill. May he rest in peace. So I've just added just a little bit of honey, and then my tea bag has been seeping, and it is absolutely delicious. Good morning to Loretta. Louis says this is the best winter weather. No chance of snowing today, and that's a good thing. Miss Beulah is always here. Says that she's proud to be a Caymanian. Thank you, Miss Beulah. Elizabeth says they're respectful of each other and all three were strong. Yes, I think that that was the general consensus, is that, they brought their A game. So congratulations to all of them. Miss Lily, good morning. I think it's a start to be able to sit on a panel and discuss, what you see as the issues facing the community and what your proposed solutions are. That is all a start. It's not everything by any means. And there are people who will do extremely well in debates and still don't have what it takes because they may not be personable. They may not be doing the door-to-door. They're just not reaching the people. So it is a 360 game. I think Ozzy is joining us now. He can certainly speak to this. Good morning, Mr. Ozzy.
Good morning, Sandy, and our listeners.
How are you? Do you have your CMR mug? I don't think you have one.
What's that?
I was asking if you have your CMR mug.
No, I don't. I got a plain white one.
Okay, well, we got to get you sorted out. Good morning to Daisy Anglin. She's locked in this morning. Miss Daisy, I actually saw you in the road a couple days ago driving a Jeep. You may not have noticed, but I was the one who let you out of a plaza. Was it a plaza or? Yes, right here in Countryside. You're coming out of Country Corner, and I stopped so that you could pull out. But you were paying attention to the road, which is good. So, Ozzy, how are you?
I'm thankful and doing well. Tired, but going.
Yes, very good. I know that you're super busy today.
Yes, I am. Every day.
You got a lot going on. So, you're on the campaign trail. You actually have a meeting that's coming up. So let our viewers know from the onset how they can attend your function and what you're going to have going on at that event.
Okay, well, actually, before we get to the campaign launch, we have an area meeting tonight, Sunday, in Midland.
Okay.
And that's, as you come in Midland, you can't miss it, because once you come in there to go into Midland, you'll come across the meeting. It's on the corner of Chaucer and Longfellow Circle, but it's, like I said, it's on the open lot there and it's easy to find. So we're welcoming people out. Hopefully the weather cooperates. I was just sprinkling here just now. Last night, Minister Panton had to cancel his launch, unfortunately. I think he's going to do on Monday, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so we have that area meeting. We had one last week in Frenchman, and then we have the big launch, the real big one, the launch of the campaign, the official launch of the campaign on Saturday night. And we're looking forward to everybody coming out and sharing with us and hearing the issues and basically getting us on the way, hopefully, to victory in April.
Beautiful. I'm trying to see if I have your, I think I've got to check my emails if I have your flyer for the event this evening. But so yes, you definitely sound like you're going to be extremely busy there, Ozzy. Lots of work. You've been hitting the ground. Have there been any changes this time around for you in terms of what you're discovering when you're out and about talking to people? Are they saying anything different than they have in the past years when you've campaigned?
Well, Sandy, I can tell you this. First of all, I've never worked this hard. One advantage of being in a party is that it takes away or eases some of the work that you have to do from being an independent candidate. There's no doubt about that. You have a lot of machinery around you and support that you don't have as an independent. So I've been door to door from, as I said before, from Frankstown and down into behind Bodden Town Central and the Lookout area, still at the moment, because it's a huge area. And the main thing this time, I think, that's different is that and it's probably due to, some of it is due to COVID, but also some of it is simply the fact that we have neglected to deal with some of the issues, the undercurrents that have been festering in this island for a long, long time. And I remember when I first got into, how I got into politics was writing letters to the press when I came back from college. And I was seeing things that people were ignoring here. And that the main thing, and I have these letters on file still, it's very interesting reading when you read them. It was basically the neglect of our people. We were building the country, we were selling the country, but we were leaving the people behind. And I talked about, it wasn't good enough for people to have scraps from the table. They should be sitting at the table. We needed to educate, we needed to train, we needed to be mindful of ownership and all this stuff. And sadly, it never got traction, because even with me as minister, when I would sit there and I would pound away at this, you get the budget, but you don't get what you need. And because things like tourism and financial services and the big projects get the lion's share. And I think this is fundamentally flawed, because as I've said at my meetings so far, Sandy, and talking to people, you have to deal with a cancer at an early age, at an early stage, and make sure that it doesn't blow into a full-blown case where it's going to take your life. You got to catch it at stage 1 or 2. And we've allowed this thing to fester. And I think that we're at stage 3 or 4 now. And that's unfortunate, because our people are genuinely hurting. We have, for a country that boasts of a $400 million budget, or reserves at the moment, a country that has that kind of money and boasts a good economy and rated highly by AM Best and boasted about by economists and all that, we shouldn't have any homeless. We shouldn't have any people hungry. We shouldn't have any jobless. We'll always have a certain degree of employment. You and I know that. There's a certain category of unemployment that you will have. But we need to make sure that our people are equipped and ready to take on the work that this country needs to keep the economy going. We need to make sure our people are able to buy homes, buy property, buy homes at affordable prices. And we need to ensure that nobody is hungry. I am on a daily basis dealing with people who have empty fridges and empty cupboards. And something is wrong with that, Sandy. And that's the fundamental reason I've come back into this arena. Because when I looked at COVID, the whole situation with what was going on, and I think it is an opportunity. COVID has put the brakes on a bit for us. It didn't come to a full stop, but we put the brakes on. Tourism has dried up. We have an opportunity to get some of the things that we were going wrong in, to get some of those right. And I really, really believe that in my heart of hearts. Otherwise, I would not be here. So we have those issues I'm discussing in my meetings, and as I've said, I'm not anti-foreigner by any means. I have a ton of foreign friends. I travel. I know people all over the world. But what I am is pro-Caymanian and to the max. And when you hear, I don't know if it's been discussed on your shows yet, but when you hear something like this, and I just want to big up this young man because he has a platform and he always uses it. I don't know if you've listened to this yet, but I'm sure you have. But this is.
We just played it actually.
Okay.
Chad, we just literally played it.
I think he's speaking very real there, and I have to big up Chad because sometimes he makes jokes and people take him lightly, but I think he's expressing some serious concern there, and everything that he said there is true. And we need to make sure that we elect leaders that feel and understand the situation that's going on here, and not just about big biz and big money. We need to make sure that we take care of our people this time around, because if we don't, as old people used to say, dog eat your supper.
And he's definitely the dog getting ready. Trust me.
Yeah,
he's got some big teeth this time around because we have so many issues.
It's overwhelming sometimes. I'm telling you.
And I think the thing as well is it's been compounded by the pandemic. So now we're really getting to see how much people are hurting.
Exactly. It's biting that much harder. And we any country that wants to call itself a progressive country and a country of merit, there's certain things you do well, and that is, first of all, you take care of your young people and your elderly, and secondly, you should have no homelessness, no shelterlessness. No homelessness, no hunger, and no joblessness, at least to a certain extent. And when you can boast those things, then to me, you're a really developed country and doing well.
Yeah. Well, I heard Austin last night talking about some 13. Did he say 13,000 people on NAU assistance during his debate?
I sought to get some of that information yesterday, and
it's crazy. I mean, I'll go back because I remember someone saying during the debate.
The budget is 19 million at the moment, Sandy, in that area, and I think there's only 32 workers there, and they're working extremely hard. And so far, they've assisted some 5,000 people, and that's 2,500 families that they've assisted. But we do not want to be swelling those numbers. We want to mitigate those numbers, and we should not be boasting. Not saying that anyone is, but certainly I don't think that that's a number that we want to bring down significantly.
Yeah.
But during this pandemic stage, I think there may be a need for some temporary boosting in that area, because there are some genuine unemployed people, because a lot of our people work in tourism. Yes, there's a stipend being paid, and thanks for that. I think it's up to $1,500 now. There's a stipend being paid, but as we know, people, some of them got their little pensions, some had a meager savings. All those things are burnt through. And I predicted this from last year. I said, and talking to bankers and stuff, they said, when you see those those loan payments resume, and when those pension amounts dry up that people got, you're going to see real hardship in Cayman. And so said, so done. We're seeing people now that are pleading for help and really feeling the pinch.
Mm-hmm. Wow. David agrees with you. He says, good morning, Lion Ozzy. My sentiments exactly. Cayman is too affluent for people to be homeless and hunger and jobless, and this needs to be addressed. I think one of the things that stands out for me personally, Ozzy, is when I see the homelessness in Cayman, although, I don't think the actual homelessness is a huge number. We could probably count them.
I don't think it's a huge number.
Yeah, we could count them probably in two hands, but to your point, given what they are, what is surrounding them, the high-rise buildings, the multi-million-dollar and trillion-dollar infrastructures that bring in a lot of money, like right in central town, you have all these law firms that individual lawyers make a base salary of $25,000, $30,000 a month. And then that's a stark contrast. Of course, that's more at the partnership level, but still, that's a stark contrast to when you see someone with one pair of shoes lying on a bench, like we showed a few days ago, homeless with his one little bag that he puts every single piece of clothing in. And it certainly breaks my heart when I see those things happening. Now, I also appreciate that sometimes those individuals are homeless because of addiction problems,
right,
or other issues that need to be addressed.
Mental issues.
Yeah, and mental issues. But again, we are an affluent country.
Yeah.
We are an affluent country that has been slow to address mental health in this country.
Yes.
Don't have a dedicated, mental health facility. Now the rush is on to break ground on one, as the political season gets heated. But it just really makes me wonder if it's going to be another situation where we're building the infrastructure, and when it's eventually built, we're still not investing in it. For example, in our public schools, we need more speech therapists. We need more counselors. We need more of those support professionals, and they're simply not there. They're overworked. They're pressured. One counselor covering, hundreds of children, or multiple schools, they can go once every other week sort of thing. To me, that just doesn't make any sense. And we need some real focused effort on resolving some of these issues. Last election, Ozzy, your opponent ran on a platform of getting rid of work permits, I think is what he wanted to do. Clearly, he forgot that. Those were words only. And clearly he forgot, that promise. First of all, it was stupid, I must say, to think that is going to be the thing. But he sold himself on that. And there are people in this community who you can say any little catchphrase and they're going to believe you. And so what are your thoughts on, I don't know what his slogan is for this year, but clearly, the getting rid of work permits one that he ran on last year, he didn't do. It's not feasible. It didn't work. But what is your take on the number of work permits, Ozzy, in this country, and how we can ensure that there's a balance between work permit holders and Caymanians who are looking for employment opportunities?
Thanks, Andy. Yes, you're right. That was uninformed and unadvisable for him to make such a comment, because anyone who understands the Cayman economy will know that we do need work permit holders in this country. We simply cannot generate the amount of labor that it takes to have this economy run properly. We have specialists that are indeed genuine specialists that we don't have the people in those areas. And we also have areas on the blue collar level that people, Caymanians, for instance, domestics, cleaners, handymen, gardeners, those type of things, where we have just a genuine shortage or desire for our people to want to do those jobs. Our people, and rightly so, they aspire in most cases to higher paying jobs, because those jobs are on the lower end of the pay scale. And so we'll always need work permit holders. What we should seek to do as a country is to ensure that those work permits are as low a number as possible. And we do that by ensuring that we train our people. I know this is a broken record, but we have to retool, we have to train from school our people to take on the various jobs. Anyone that's been listening to Michael Miles, this is his big strong point, and because he works and he lives in it, the vocational area. I have been a very strong advocate for this. I've insisted that we need a full-fledged trade school, properly funded. I also insisted and advocated that it be linked to the Heart Institute in Jamaica, which is renowned for the level of technical capability that it produces. I would like to see us really focus on that and start to steer our kids from a young age, from primary level. It's not too young. Teachers have told me it's not too young to steer kids in the right direction and get them doing what needs to be done. This will slowly bring down the number of work permits, because when we start to produce our own masons and tilers and carpenters and electricians and plumbers and the like, a lot of people are in this country doing those jobs on work permits, and they are being paid a very handsome salary. So when we can produce those, back in the day when Cayman was a small little place that I grew up in, we had, I grew up knowing amazing Caymanian carpenters, amazing Caymanian masons, and I can name names because the carpenters, a lot of them came out of North Side. We had masons and carpenters in Bodden Town, and Georgetown had masons, electricians, and plumbers. And you know that you knew the names. And what they did back then, they took Caymanians, and we were trained through the apprenticeship style, where they took on laborers, and eventually those people went on to become themselves successful in the business. So Cayman has moved beyond that, sadly, and we are no longer the little islands with just a few builders and contractors. We have huge companies in operation, and unfortunately, you do not see the type of apprenticeship that you saw back then. So we have people that go there as common laborers, but they walk away each day coming back home as the same common laborer rather than coming home as a fully fledged and trained, skilled craftsman. And this is where I think we need to put some serious emphasis in terms of a trade school. And this has been bandied about now for the last 20, 30 years, I believe. And it's time for us to bite the bullet, put this thing in place. We don't need to build any new buildings. God forbid, we have enough. We can use existing school buildings, dedicate some of the older buildings if we need to, or use some of the other buildings outside of normal school hours. There's a way to do this without incurring significant capital expenditure, in my opinion. And when we do this, again, it comes back to putting our people in place who can replace some permit holders. On the other end of the spectrum, on the white collar jobs, the same applies. We need to look at our workforce, look at what the market needs in terms of skilled people, whether it's doctors, lawyers, accountants, architects, you name it. You look at and you do a workforce survey where when government grants scholarships, instead of just granting a scholarship for any university, for any sort of qualification, you tailor and you push people into you say, okay, we have so many scholarships in this area, so many in this area, and you channel our people that you are giving them an opportunity to come back. What happens now, our young people are coming back with degrees, and you're telling them there's no jobs. You're telling them they're overqualified or they don't have the experience. That is so wrong, Sandra. That is so wrong. We have to get it. We're small. We're tiny little. We're a town in the States, for God's sakes. We can get this right. We know who's overseas. We know what they're doing. Make sure they're doing what we need them to be doing, and bring them back and make sure that there's a development plan. There's what we call a business staffing plan to bring these people in and allow them to grow under somebody who's there probably on a work permit and eventually take that job. What's happening and even in the civil service, sadly to say. And this is not good. This bothers me a lot. The civil service used to be the Caymanian domain. That was where we always could find work, jobs. Now we have foreigners in the civil service. That never happened before. Back in the day, that never happened. This is something that started over the last 10 years or so, and it is not healthy. Because what happens, you have young Caymanians there working in the civil service, they move up to deputy, let's say CFO or deputy HR. They've worked and they have all this experience and they can do the job. Then the top job goes to be advertised against people on the outside. And of course, you're going to find people in the States and the UK and other places, Canada and Europe, that are going to have more experience and more qualifications than these young people. But it doesn't make them any better or more qualified for that particular job, in my opinion. When our young people, our Caymanians, have worked there, knows the system, know their people, and should be given that job. Why should they then have to compete for somebody who has never seen the Cayman Islands and in most times gets the job? Sandra, that is wrong. That is so wrong, in my opinion. And I think that that needs to be looked at in the civil service. And I'm willing to stand up against the deputy governor or whoever else, look them in the face and tell them, guys, we need to fix this. We have some serious issues because this is where it's going wrong. We're demoralizing our young people. And then next thing you know, they're gone from the civil service. They've left because some private sector company has realized their potential and gobbles them up. What you've done then, you've just weakened the civil service. Come on.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, Ozzy, because the irony of what you're talking about, this is a real life situation, right? We've talked about it in this program before. One of the cases, one example that I've shared is what happened to Sheena Ebanks, where she had applied for a job, her, Samantha Bennett, and other qualified Caymanians. On appeal, because they didn't get the job, we found out that they were more qualified than I think it was a Canadian young man that they ended up giving the job to. And so even when you do all the right things, you stick with government for 10, 15, 12 years, and you apply for advancement in the civil service, and they cut you off at the knees and give it to someone just because they've curried favor with them. You're more qualified, you did better in your interview, all of these things. What do you say to young Caymanians who find themselves, young professional Caymanians who find themselves in that predicament where they have done it? They tell you, okay, this is the playbook and these are the rules. You've got to get an education. You've got to, do a first degree, a second degree. You've got to be a good worker. You've got to do X, Y, Z. And you do all of those things. And when you apply for a job, you do well in the interview. You score the highest on all other markers that they're using to choose, the position. And then you still don't get it because someone has some sort of inside, I don't know exactly, who was his friend or whatever that situation was. But when the appeals tribunal came back saying, listen, the civil service entity there that allows them to appeal such decisions, when they came back and said, well, in fact, not only was Sheena more qualified than this young man, but Samantha Bennett was more qualified. So you had two top-notch Caymanian HR managers that you could have chosen from before this individual who only had experience acting in the role because someone had left it and they put him in an acting capacity, didn't have any of the degrees, and on government's dime was able to obtain an HR certificate, a diploma or something like that. I mean, it really breaks people's spirits when they hear stories like this, because you think, what's the point of doing all the right things?
It does. And to the young people out there, a lot of them talk to me. I have young adults as my children, and we talk, and some of them actually experience this, believe it or not, because some of them work in government. I know when I speak, I try to speak from an informed position. I don't like to just talk off the top of my head. So when I say things like this, I know firsthand. I know of their friends. I know people that they know. We talk about this stuff, and it's frustrating. And And I try to prop these young people up and say, don't give up. It's teething problems and all that. But the truth is that the system needs to change. The system needs to be more pro Caymanian. And any country that doesn't put their people first, something is wrong. We have to. There can be no good excuse that we are not putting our people first. Caymanians first. I think Ken has it as this, right? And this is I like that, because that's what this election is about. Caymanians first. We have been Caymankind long enough to big business and big money. And we appreciate the money that has come into Cayman. We appreciate the people that have come to work here. We appreciate also that we have made many a millionaire and not many a Caymanian millionaire. And we have to ask ourselves why, right? We look at people that come in here, and I'll use real estate as an example. They land this week. Next week they have a license. The next week you see their picture and signs all over property. They sell millions and dollars of our property, and they can retire because they're millionaires, and they buy up large, beautiful homes in Cayman, and then they become people in society, and their names are all over Cayman. Good, okay, you've come and you've found the Cayman dream, but what about the Cayman dream for Caymanians?
Exactly.
I
said that just a couple of days ago. Interestingly, Ozzy, is that the Caymanian dream exists. The disconnect is that it's not available to most Caymanians, which is really, really sad. So we've got some comments coming in. Elizabeth says another 25% pension withdrawal for those persons that are or were in private sector might help for the short term. There are a lot of former private sector people unemployed, and they cannot afford the health insurance, mortgages, etc. Of course, the concern there, Elizabeth, is that pensions are already under pressure, and the bottom line is no one is putting in enough into their pension funds to retire on. So what you're doing now is, by allowing people to deplete their pension funds, you are kicking the proverbial can down the mall road. And in fact, the can is getting bigger. So you may think in the short term that that's the solution, but that is going to create a much bigger issue for government when it comes to retirees. And when people hit retirement age, they're going to be like, oh, well, you allowed me to deplete my pension fund. Now you have to take care of me. And the cold, hard truth, Elizabeth, is that government just doesn't have the money. No. So I understand the short-term desire to do that, but I think the long-term implications are very, very serious. Ms. Lily shares some of her experience. She says, I don't have a job. I have medical bills outstanding. When I applied for a job before COVID, I was told I'm overqualified. What should I do? I started doing my little farming, but supermarkets want to pay the crops very cheap. I'm really thinking to sell my property and move out of Cayman, as I see myself struggling here. But I see people still coming in on work permits. Why? There's a lot of us who have degrees and are jobless. Tracy shares that since the pandemic, more people are on assistance. And since being on assistance, it's easier to stay on it as opposed to accepting $6 an hour. The fact that some 10,000 plus people are now on assistance is nothing for the government to brag about or be proud about. The focus should be on getting them education and better assistance and getting better paying jobs, and focus on getting those numbers down. Some good points, Tracy. She says the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. In such a small country, there's no reason why Caymanians should need to live on the poverty line. What is the government's focus on getting people back into the workforce and jobs that they can be educated and given the opportunity to thrive? Well, we don't know what their plan is. Because we just haven't heard. No. Good morning, Jacqueline. So there has to be a clear focus on education. Sanya says that one candidate shocked her with the comments that we can live off of $6 an hour. We don't live in hives, and we have to pay our bills alone, not like some nationalities I know, but I hope Prospect is listening, and I hope Windsor Park is listening, because another one says $100 a day is enough for tour operators. Be wise, people. Don't let in, let's just say, lots of wolves in sheep's clothing. Something make it right. Maybe that's supposed to be vote. So I don't know who mentioned the $100 a day for taxi operators. And I don't actually know what the going rate is for taxi operators before the pandemic hit. I think that realistically, I don't think anybody in Cayman can live on $6 an hour. Let's just be very honest here.
No, it's not realistic.
But
And
this is
that's
one of the
gonna be
failings
upgraded.
of the current administration, because Tara Rivers, with her coalition government, she's been part of the Progressives for the past 8 terms. They determined that $6 an hour was a good starting point. My understanding is that
was a starting point.
Revised.
Yes.
And it just has never been revised. And
No.
this is the difficulty, right? This is why I'm always cautious when government comes to you with a half-baked plan and they say, accept the half a loaf of bread because it's better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my experience, for them to cook up and knead the dough and whatever for the other half the bread, it just never happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes an exorbitant amount of time if it is going to happen. So be very careful the half-baked measures that you accept.
Yeah.
David makes a good point about immigration revenue. Troy Leacock says that you're spot on. You're spot on target. Caymanians first. Jacqueline says Caymanians shouldn't have to go overseas to obtain a degree that Cayman doesn't offer, like other countries such as the US, UK, and Canada. Caymanians should be able to go to college or university or trade school and obtain a degree or learn a trade in Cayman and be able to get a job afterwards. Sania says that none of us want handouts, believe me, but the people who government helping is over 50 like myself, and no one will hire us. I have applied to over 30 different places and I'm told no because of my age. That's very sad.
Yeah, that's another problem. I would like to talk briefly about that because we are discarding our seniors too early.
Yeah.
That is
why it's crazy though, Ozzy, because to me, the young people can't get jobs. They're hurting. The older people are now saying that they can't get jobs. They're facing age discrimination. There should not be the disqualifying someone for a position because of age, to me, is age discrimination. And that should never be the case. If they're not qualified, then that might be something different.
Yeah.
But, employers need to be flexible as well, because there are very few people that come to the job full of all the experience that you want, all the degrees, especially when they're overinflated, that you want. But there is such a thing as on-the-job training that can certainly occur. And I think employers need to be encouraged by the system to be more flexible in terms of those sorts of things.
Yes. It's a double whammy because our young people are not getting jobs. They're saying that they're telling them they don't have the experience. And our older people, they're telling them basically they're too old. Let me tell you something. The retirement age around the world has gone up to about 70 now. And there's a reason for that, because people are living longer, there's better healthcare. And we need to ensure that these people are productive and useful in our community. They may not be able to do the hard labor that they used to do, but these people are usually the ones with great experience and with great work ethic. And we need to ensure that they're absorbed and used in certain areas because we are tourism, financial, predominantly run industry. Tourism in particular should cater to these type of people, that is the seniors, because that is where you want your Caymankind and stuff to be on exhibit. Yes, tourism is down right now. We all know that. Hopefully it will bounce back once we get a grip on this pandemic worldwide. But we need to be able to utilize those people and use them in so many different areas around the island, not just in Georgetown, but West Bay, Bodden, East and North Side, and the sister islands, because there is so much that they can bring to the table and teach some of the younger people, because they're not going to come to work late. They're not going to come to work 2 days a week. They're going to show up and they're going to perform, and they're going to have the experience to really shine in their jobs. We have to ensure that these people can live and survive in dignity. We're fast-headed in that direction, Sandy, and we want to know that when we get there, we can survive. We're not begging government for a handout. We're not expecting government to take care of us in our golden years. We should be able to retire and live in dignity. and know that we've contributed to our islands, and now we are in our sunset years, and we can feel good about it and know that we have food on the table, we have shelter, and we are being productive and useful and respected in our society. That is the mark of a good society. When you have your communities with its older people being happy, it's young people striving and being entrepreneurs and developing businesses and being given the breaks and opportunities to compete and grow their businesses. This is what you want to see in Cayman. But right now we have a situation where it's all going the wrong direction, and we need to arrest this. We have to stop this, because this is going to come. The only thing that comes at the end of this is social unrest, and you don't want that in these islands. These islands have been too fortunate and built by too many hardworking people, and who sailed the 7 seas, and those ladies who stayed at home and made it happen. We have come from a great, great background, and we would be really, really guilty and can't face the future generations if we let this slide away. We have encouraged good people here. We've had good people come and live amongst us and become us, because we have to grow this island with, let's face it, we have to grow it with other people. We can't start with a small pool of population and grow it. Everybody will be related. So don't fool ourselves. When we give the right people status in this country and PR, again, now that's a whole nother ball game, but that has to be done properly and to the right people. And we have to import the right kind of people to this country, because you cannot build a country on the backs of poor people. It does take money, but at the same time, those people have to exhibit certain qualities, certain integration into our society that we can all prosper and live from. And my point is, this big money that we have in this country, and we do have a lot of money in this country, don't make anyone fool you. This is not being tapped into enough to help our people. Because what's happened when we, instead of us saying, okay, you're in here and you got your millions and billions, build us some schools, build us some roads. No, the government has had to do that. Who's the government? The government is us. So the government is, the resources that could have gone into its people have gone into infrastructure, rather than tapping into the big money that's flowing through this country and the big people that have money here. So we need to adjust this. We need to sit and have some, I advocate a think tank. I think that we need to take some of the shackles off of our civil servants, because we have a lot of smart people, a lot of our young people in our civil service that are brilliant, that have come from university, that have seen a lot overseas, and we have senior civil servants with experience. We need to create a think tank in this island that sits down at a round table, long table, whatever the table is, and really addresses this issue. We need to find a way to convert this from going in the wrong direction and back on track. And it's not an overnight fix. Don't get me wrong. Don't think that I'm saying, put me in there and I can fix this in a year. No way. First of all, you need people to think alike. You need people that understands this and are concerned and have the heart, and not going there for the money or for ego or for name. You want people that's going to go there and work and really address this and talk to people. You're not going there to fight people. You're going there to talk to people and find a right solution, because many of the people who have the billions, they want to survive and live in this country. They need to have a harmonious society, because you can put all the alarm system and burglar bars you want, but at the end of the day, if people are hungry and homeless, they're coming for you.
Yeah.
So we need to get people to understand this. Let's work side by side with us. Let's make Cayman, I hate to use the word great, but let's make Cayman, because I don't want to be mixed up with Trump. But let's really make this a place that the world will envy. We can do it. We're small enough to do it, Sandy.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, we are envied by a lot already, to be quite frank. But imagine how much that could be improved if we just got a lot of things right that we need to do.
Yes, but the thing is, those people that envy, they don't see the pain or feel the pain that you and I do, and the people that are typing on your show, right? They're only seeing the glossy picture. that as you know, when you do those photo shoots, and you ladies, and you do what those things are called again, the fancy picture, and you look all fantastic, but that's not how you look on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Glamour shots. They're seeing
Putting
the
it,
glamour.
yeah.
They're seeing the glamour shot of
some
Cayman, and they're hearing about the economy and seeing Cayman is a nice, safe place and blah blah. But that will change if the undercurrent, the cancer that I'm talking about, is not arrested. That will change, and then you will see a whole different Cayman with the demonstrations and the violence and all that. And you don't want to see that. Nobody wants to live in that. We all love this place, and we want everybody to strive and survive.
Absolutely. Ozzy, I do have a little bit of give me 1 second here. I've got a bit of a treat for you, but let's read some of the comments while I'm pulling that up. So Sanya says, and this is very, very interesting. They basically told her that the insurance is too high for them to be able to afford to take her on as a senior.
Wow.
And that's an interesting point. And I can see now from the employer's perspective, even being an employer myself, that's a real concern.
They charge big bill. Well, first of all, sometimes you can't get it. It's unavailable. And then when you can get it, you have to pay an arm and a leg for it. And that's another conversation to be had with insurance companies, because they're creaming off the profits, and they're dumping all the bad business on Cynical. Cynical is under all sorts of pressure to perform and to deliver, but insurance companies in this country, they make decent returns, and we need to have a conversation with them about offering people proper insurance at proper prices.
Ozzy, I know your time is limited today. You've got your yard meeting this evening, so we do want to thank you for coming onto the program. But give me 1 second. I want to show you what just happened here, which I think you'll be tickled pink to see, folks. Look at this.
Right? They're only seeing the glossy picture. That as you know, you do it for the truth that you ladies, and you do what the things are called again, the fancy picture.
Yes, listen.
Right? They're only seeing the glossy picture. That as you know, you do it for the truth that you ladies, and you do what the things are called again, the fancy picture.
Time we see him, that means that we've got some winners on the program.
All right.
So, Ozzy, go like the little Gucci boy. Sprint all the way to the end.
Good stuff. I just want to wrap up, Sandy, thanking you and thanking the audience, who, as usual, are very interactive and very insightful. And to say that, yes, I do have, God willing, with the weather, an area meeting in Midland Acres tonight, and I want you guys to come out. And we want especially to encourage you to come out to our big launch on Saturday night. We're building up to a really nice program, and I think you're gonna hear my song for the first time as well. And we're gonna have some refreshments and some good people endorsing me, and a few people speaking. We'll make it as lively and informational as possible. But I can't end without a little politics. It's just have to say that, last Thursday night, my opponent had his launch in Bodden Town, the center of Bodden Town by the post office. Well, he knew he wasn't going to get a big crowd, so he was quite smart to have it in a small venue, and then they bust in a lot of people. But anyone that listened to that or watched that or attended that event will know that all of these serious issues that we have facing us, and if you've noticed today's show, it's been all issue driven and ideas and suggestions and concerns. That show was about a chronicle of his life, which is very dubious to say the least. A list of his achievements, which
did he mention? I'm just curious, Ozzy, did he mention all of the workers for his company that he still hasn't paid pension for?
No, he won't go there. Trust me.
So okay, that's
his great accomplishments that he again, it only happens when he's elected, a type of thing.
Right.
He refused to acknowledge the fact that my administration that I was a part of was restricted from spending by the FFR, which we all know about. We left that administration with $575 million surplus because of the restrictions and the inability to spend by the UK,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody should
Mm-hmm.
forget that. So I'll just say,
Mm-hmm.
and the third aspect of his long speech was dedicated to me. Okay, and in that he said some things that I'm actually taking legal advice on so seriously, because I'll say right now that Osbourne Bodden has never beaten a woman with a cow cord, and he went on stage and said that, right? So
Oh my gosh.
that is going to be, it's either going to be retracted by that gentleman when he takes the platform again, or he will be after the elections dealing with it legally. But you know, it's sad that in these times, with all of these concerns, that we see the desperation to hold on to the seat when
Yeah.
everybody knows the failure of the minister in Bodden Town on the district level and on a national level. I don't have to say what those failures are because everybody has seen it, and I don't have to reiterate it. I am not going down. I don't have to struggle with the devil because I hope that I got God on my side, and I'm looking to him for wisdom and strength and understanding. So I don't have to worry about how low I can go. I don't have to worry about that. And the last thing I'm going to say is he gave me a name. He tagged me as Sleepy Joe. But if he had any sense at all, that's the last thing he would call me, because the last Sleepy Joe that I know about in politics won the election.
Point taken. Some shots.
All right,
Thank you so much, Ozzy. Next time, someone mentioned that as the housing minister, he's obviously failed as well. He's failed at health, at his health ministry. So next time you're on the program, let's talk a little bit more about housing and health concerns, which, like I said, he leaves a lot to be desired. Ozzy, thank you so much for coming on today. Good luck with your meeting tonight. Folks, here are all the details for Ozzy's area meeting. If you're interested, it's going to be at Midland Acres, right off of Chaucer Drive. I think you should be able to find it when you go to Midland Acres area.
Yeah, once you go in, you'll find it. You'll run into it.
Yeah, the Midland Acres Park at 8 p.m. tonight. Come on out for a small area or community meeting. Ozzy will be there. Refreshments will be served. Good conversations to be had. And he'll be happy to answer any and all of your questions. John, we'll save that question for next time. Ozzy, just make a note of this. What sets you apart from your opponent so that we can talk about the next time you're on what those items are. So thanks again, Ozzy. Good luck this evening. Good luck for the campaign, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, Sandy, and goodbye to everybody. Have a wonderful day, and see you all at the launch on Saturday night especially. Come on out. And we have a big property, lots of parking. We're not hiding in a little corner. We're going to have a lot of people out there. All right?
Awesome. Sounds good. Sounds good. Kenneth Bryan has joined us. Good morning, Kenneth. What is going on?
Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, CMR, and your viewers and listeners from across the world. Special good morning to you.
So how have you been? I know you've been busy. You had a couple backyard meetings this week as well. How have those been going?
They've been going good. Really happy with the turnout. So I want to thank Martin Drive and Miles Lane for the first meeting. Yeah, hold on. Everything went well, so I'm happy about that. And then just on Tuesday night, we had the meeting at Alto Way, which is down on Ryan Road. That went well as well. So things are going very, very good. So.
Awesome. All right. So you've been watching the debates with the candidates. When is your turn coming up, by the way? Uh-oh. Looks like his internet may have frozen there. I saw him moving around a little bit, and I was going to say, Kenneth, can you hear us?
I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay. So tell us, when is you've gone pixelated. So, there you go. All right. So when is your debate, your candidate forum with the chamber? What day is that one coming up?
That will be on the 29th of March.
Actually, I have the whole list here. Here we go. Okay, very good. So is your opponent going to be showing up, by the way? Do you know?
I don't know, but I hope that he does. I think it's important that all people show up so people can have the opportunity to, property to persons that they think may not be able to do very well not show up. If you remember, in the last election, there was 2 candidates that just didn't go to the debates at all. And I think that's a disenfranchisement to the voters. But I really do look forward to that discussion. So let's see. There's 2 of them. There's the one in Rooster on the 22nd. So I look forward to that debate with the person that I'm running against. But I'm glad that you brought up the fact of the debates, because as you know, housing has been and still is a very important concern for me. Caymanian home ownership is essential. If we don't fix this problem, we're going to lose our country. That's why I was so disappointed last night when I heard the councillor Austin Harris, basically, in my humble opinion, not trying to be political because that's his race up there, but lied to the people of this country about the GG Ham program. Now, for those who are not familiar with the GG Ham program, it's a program to help Caymanians buy homes. It's the GG Ham is abbreviation for Government Guaranteed Housing Assistance Mortgage. Basically, what it is the government will guarantee the deposit when you go to the bank for a loan. So, for instance, you found a home for $300,000. The bank wants 10%, and you can't come up with $30,000. The government, for first-time Cayman homeowners, will guarantee that $30,000. And if you're a first-time Cayman homeowner, you can also have a duty waiver. So you don't basically have to come up with anything. You just have to qualify to pay the payments to the bank every month. So you pay like the closing fees for the lawyers and stuff, and usually that's about 1%. So in my example of a $300,000 home, you come up with $3,000. Makes it really easy for Caymanians. But he sold to the people last night in the debate that the government has put in the GG Ham program, and that is a lie. It is a lie. The program has been shut down since 2017. It was on from 2000 and no, sorry, my apologies. It's been shut down from 2012. The program was on from 2007 to 2012, and I've been begging the government to reinstate it for the whole 4 years, and they've failed to do so. And I find it really, really terrible for him to lie to the people, to say that that they have these programs available for Caymanians, because they don't. They should. I wish that they did, because more Caymanians would have access to buying homes in Cayman. So I just want to clarify that, because housing is very important to me, and the housing minister, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, knows how important this is to me. I've asked at least about 9 to 10 questions about housing over the 4-year period, trying to get updates, trying to get an assessment of availability, what they're doing with the housing program. The National Housing Unit has been begging them to find the funding to go ahead with the piece of property in Georgetown to build some more affordable homes, and they won't put the money aside necessary for that. And home ownership is so important, Sandy. If we keep at this rate of not putting home property in the hands of Caymanians as a priority, we're going to lose our country. Now, you may not get a job sometimes. There's other problems, there's cost of living and all that. But home ownership trumps it all, because that's the land. That's what you own your country with. And I was really upset last night, because he made the country believe that this government is offering options for Caymanians to get homes, and that's not true. Simply put. So again,
I didn't watch it, the entire thing, I should say. I was so tired last night, I gotta be honest with you. I took a nap before going to bed, kind of thing, right? But I did hear his comment with that, and I thought to myself, hold on a second, weren't we just talking about that GG Ham program the other day when Wayne Panton was on?
Wayne Panton.
Yes, and Wayne
Correct.
also said that it had been suspended or on hold or whatever for a number of years, and that he was really disappointed to see that be the case. So I was confused too by Austin's comments in relation to that. So you're telling us that Austin got it wrong? How could he get such an important thing wrong?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. And this is why it's important to do fact checking about what the government does and what the government doesn't do. Because when you have a skillful person with the tongue, and I must say, Austin is very well with his mouth. He can articulate himself well. And if you don't have fact checking out there, you would believe that, oh my God, think. And it's not fair because you have to paint the truth. And this is why we needed a TV station and independent reporters. I mean, you've been pulling so much weight. I don't know how you do it. I'm not surprised you were tired last night, because you're basically going 10 hours a day covering this stuff. And then as soon as you get off the work, you're thinking about it, still preparing for the next 10 hours. So but there really needs to be more fact checking, and that's why I want this debate with my competition, because I want to hear him articulate and understand how he's going to ensure that Caymanians get better opportunities when his administration that he's choosing to be a part of was in control and has been in control for 8 years. So I look forward to that debate, but I just had to clarify and fact check that whole matter about the GT Ham program.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. That's quite shocking. I'll reach out to Mr. Austin for a comment, because I want to know where he got that information wrong. And now it makes me wonder what else he might have gotten wrong last night in the debate.
I'll encourage you. The housing program at the National Housing is an open number. Anybody can call them. Just look it up, the National Housing Trust, and ask them.
So this was ran through the National Housing Trust?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
so just call the National Housing. I can't remember the director.
I'll be on it this morning, Kenneth.
I'll be happy to send you the director's number, and you can call and ask and confirm whether.
Don't worry, I got him on speed dial already.
Okay. Well, good. You can fact check it and clarify it, because I'm not happy. Don't lie to my people. If you want to win a debate, win it on facts.
Yes.
That's what I want, so that people can have a really good choice on the truth. Anyway, I don't want to take over your show. Remember, for those folks who may have some time off, today is Intersecondary Sports Day.
Yes, I got an invite. You'd be surprised the government invites that I'm getting these days. And I did get an invite to cover that event. It is today and tomorrow. I'm hoping to be able to pop by. The weather looks a little bit iffy. And we also got an invite on Friday for the graduation for the cadets. So folks, CMR is moving on up.
well, since the government is willing to basically invite you to everything now, I think you should invite my.
I mean, I still don't get invited to press conferences, but it's a start.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we should invite Mr. Frank Cornwell on to the show, because some of the chamber comments. Here's why I think it's important. I want the listening audience to hear me out on this one, right? The chamber debate is something that all candidates prepare for. I'll tell you what I've been doing. I've been listening to all the questions. I've been doing my research, preparing myself. That's what I would advise any candidate to do. You want to come up there, you want to show that you can articulate yourself, you have good thought, and it gives you an option to sell yourself, right? Now, I know that any party, any grouping will help prepare him, and that's good. But what I want is the hard, difficult questions, like what CMR offers, not just pre-prepared speeches where you see them look down at the paper and read off what was prepared for them. So if they're willing to invite you to these things and they're warming up to Sandra and Cayman Mall Road, that is good. Why don't Frank Cornwell come on the show on Cayman Mall Road and take the heat that Kenneth Bryan has been taking for the last 4 years and see how we can handle it? I think that is important, because things will get hot when you're representing the people and dealing with hard decisions. So I'm putting it out there. Why doesn't he come on the show? Let's see if he will. I don't have to be there. I don't have to make it a big, difficult situation for him, because I know Cayman Mall Road and the questions that'll come in will be strong enough. And if he can last that, then I'll be happy.
All right, Mr. Frank Cornwell, this is your personal invitation to come on the program here on CMR. It's called The Cold Hard Truth, so you know you're going to get it cold and hard, but it's always going to be the truth. Come on, my friend. We'll be gentle with you since it'll be your first time, but Kenneth is inviting you, and we're inviting you as well to come on the program. We can do a head-to-head debate in the hot seat. Lily says, "Hi, Kenneth. You don't have to call him a liar. We are humans."
I'm not sure who she's
maybe
referring
Austin.
to.
You didn't.
Well,
you didn't call
I didn't say
liar.
he's a liar. I said he didn't tell the truth.
Right.
Which can be inferred as that, but in a very important fact about what the government has offered or will be offering to the people of the country, I think it's an injustice to the people when they're choosing if you don't tell them the truth. Now, if he made a mistake, that's fine. It's understandable. We all make mistakes. But when it comes to housing, that's a very important point, because that program is a program that truly, genuinely helps people get into homes. It was the program that I used to get my first home when I had my daughter in 2009. So I know that the program works. That's why I'm disappointed that they didn't prioritize it since 2012. We're now in 2021, some 8 years was that, 9 years later, and they haven't put it back in. I don't get it.
Wow. Well, thank you for fact checking that for us last night, because I must admit, when I heard that, I thought, but didn't we just discuss this last week? And I'm pretty sure I heard that it wasn't in place. So thank you for the clarification, Kenneth. Appreciate it. Hope that you have a wonderful day. Continued good luck on the campaign trail. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you again on Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, my dear. Good stuff. So, folks, again, that is Kenneth Bryan, Georgetown Central MP, and he is seeking re-election. His competition is Frank Cornwall Jr. And Frank, we are inviting you, special invitation. We're going to wrap it up in a nice box for you, a nice virtual box. We are inviting you to come onto the program and let us know, what you got to say for yourself. What are some of the solutions that you are bringing to the table? Frank is a member of the Progressives, and of course, the Progressives now has something that they're calling the Alliance of the Alliance of Progressives and Independents. So, if you are interested, Frank, do contact us 324-1612. You can call, WhatsApp, email, Messenger, through Facebook, any way that you want to reach us. Feel free to do so. Just a quick reminder, folks, that Sammy.
Hello, everyone. This is Sammy Jackson, your candidate for the District of Red Bay. I would like to invite you all to a public meeting this Friday, the 12th of March at 7 p.m. at the Cayman Islands Sailing Club. Directions on how to get to the Sailing Club will be posted on my Facebook and Instagram pages. I look forward to seeing you all there.
All right, so Sammy's got a meeting on Friday. Mark your calendars, folks. Alric Lindsay's coming up next, and let's see what Alric has been up to. Wowee. Alric Lindsay for Georgetown South, folks. Things are getting hot. Alric, good morning. How are you?
Pretty good. As the time goes by, all of us get more and more tired, but, it's a public service, so what we signed up for. So I'm good.
You got to have stamina to be in politics.
Yeah.
You can't be some rundown granny unless you're part of the Progressives, because they have the team behind them. I don't mean that to say that anybody there is a rundown granny, but when you get the team behind you it lessens the burden, it lessens the workload, as Ozzy said this morning as well. Running as independent takes a lot more out of you, resources, time, everything. So my hat's off to the independents who do it, because I think the effort that they put in has to be appreciated. So how has it been going, Sir Alric? I know you've been participating in a number of events, including yesterday. I think you were at an event called Inclusion.
Yeah, so Inclusion Cayman had a breakfast event, and it's a discussion around in whether students that we refer to as having other needs should be integrated in the school system rather than putting them in a separate system. Because if you put children in a separate system, then they don't have the opportunity to actually commingle with other students. So it was an interesting discussion, and they're also raising funds to continue to assist the children that are having any sort of other needs. So it was a very good discussion, and I wish I could share the website address, but it's Inclusion Cayman. So can't remember what the address is, but
let's see if we can find it. Inclusion Cayman. Yeah. So basically, I was speaking to another young lady who attended, another candidate, actually Kathy, who is called inclusioncayman.ky. She was sharing with us that she also attended, and she was really, really impressed with what they had on offer yesterday. And for the most part, she found it to be very educational. There was so much support that Inclusion Cayman offers that she was not aware of even.
Yes, as you know, they used to be called Special Needs Foundation, but obviously the wording that's used sort of wasn't that attractive. So it's better to say Inclusion Cayman, because that's what the objective really is not to treat them like they're some separate group of people, but actually to include them in the everyday society, because you don't know what the abilities of those children are, and to make assumptions that they can't do this or can't do that, but that's because they're not being given the opportunity. So one of the things that I like about the Inclusion Cayman presentation is that it doesn't make assumptions about what you can't do, but it tries to open the door for opportunities about what that child could do or could become. So it was a really nice presentation and a way to look at things, because we have the inclusion issue also when it comes to public versus private schools. In the public school, obviously, if you're an expat and you work for government, your child could go there. But if you don't work for government, then your child has to go to a private school, and then that leads to segregation of our schools. And that's important, because those children have to work in a work environment that includes both Caymanians and expats. So we need to be a little more inclusive, I think. But I have to make a point that inclusive doesn't mean that you exclude Caymanians, because I think sometimes the equation gets wrong, because sometimes people, they talk about inclusion sometimes, but then sometimes they forget about the Caymanians. So I just want to stress that when we're talking about inclusion, it's not just to welcome people from the outside, but it's also to include Caymanians in what we call this success of Cayman. Caymanians should not just observe prosperity; they need to take part in it. So it's a very, very interesting point to make, because I hear a lot about we need to be more inclusive, but sometimes people are just thinking about themselves being included in society and participating. So I'm just making the point again that inclusion must include us as well.
Thank you so much.
Could you share that website with your viewers for Inclusion Cayman? Because they actually have an ability, I think, for people to make a pledge online. So if you're able to make a pledge to Inclusion Cayman, I think you're able to do it online. But so tonight, last night we had a meeting in Windsor Park. Was a little worried about the rain, but in the end, it didn't rain.
Good.
So we covered some nice issues. I mean, in other parts of Georgetown South, there are other issues. When you go through South Sound, obviously, you got an issue of overdevelopment and traffic and the environment. But in Windsor Park, for example, as we discussed last night, there are other local community issues in Windsor Park that you don't have in other areas, like affordable housing is a potential issue because we see how fast development is going. And it's going so fast that the prices are going up and we're not considering the long-term impact. So prices are so fast that it's going to be so hard for young Caymanians to afford property. So some of the things we were talking about last night was simple things like sometimes you go to get a mortgage, you try to purchase a piece of property, and the thing that stops you is sometimes the deposit. You got to pay that 10% deposit, right? And there's some people that they can't come up with a 10% deposit.
Right.
So one of the things we discussed last night was why not just waive the 10% deposit requirement? So that was one of the things we discussed because sometimes that's the only thing that's delaying the transaction for a low-income person. And when we talk about low income, we have to remember that although the Economics and Statistics Office reports that we're doing well because they're saying the gross domestic product per capita is around $73,000 a year. Now, if you see that advertised on the government website, that the gross domestic product per capita is $73,000 a year, you think that all Caymanians are doing well, right? I mean, 60,000, but the truth is when you look into the details, a lot of Caymanians are making 3,000 or less, and a lot are making 2,500 or less. So when you think about that, and you think about what they're actually paying on their mortgage, what you pay on your mortgage, and what you pay on your electricity and other parts of cost of living, actually amounts to a really high part of your total income. So when we think about these expenses being such a high part of your income, we just start thinking of new ideas. So one idea is to waive that deposit so the person can move ahead with the purchase. And another idea is one that people discuss, but I don't really like it. But as an idea, we may have to build some complexes or community homes that are different from what we actually build now. So what I mean is we have a community that's a low housing community, but we use all homes in that community would have solar. So from day one, we're considering how to reduce their electricity costs overall. So all those homes would have solar on the top.
Can I tell you something, Alric? One of the worst things I think that people can do is put like-minded people together. And when I say that, maybe I should rephrase that because I don't mean like-minded people, but this concept of let's build a government housing unit that's going to house all low-income individuals has not worked anywhere in the world. There's a lot of psychological reasons why that particular plan just doesn't work. It is better for government to identify individuals who are low-income individuals and then set up housing throughout the island. So they might, pick a housing in Lower Valley for individual, find a piece of property that they can then build a home on. Maybe if they have family property already. If they don't, government can assist with securing individual parcels of land. Putting them all together creates a group psyche that has been proven from the American project model to other examples in the UK and across Europe. It creates a project mentality because they used to call them the projects in the UK, for example, in the US. And they have literally had to tear those buildings down because they became, infested with individuals who, yes, were below the poverty line, but then you were mixing so many people together who some might have been engaged in criminal activity. Some were just low income and they had no choice but to be there. But this concept of putting them all together at one physical location imprisons them mentally as well. And it's not a good idea. And I think people need to explore. There have been a lot of research done on why it doesn't work. And people need to explore why that's the case and why we should discourage, even with the National Housing Trust, the models that they have undertaken, which is somewhat similar. It's not a singular building, it's obviously individual homes, but it has the same concept in a way. And I think it's already been proven to be an absolute failure elsewhere in the world. So, I mean, I get that we shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel, but that's one model that I would discourage anyone from looking. Well, I'm not discouraging you from looking closely at it, because if you look closely at it, you will see that it just doesn't work. So do the research, but invite or maybe it's a matter of educating some of your constituents as to why that type of concept is flawed from inception.
I don't believe it's flawed from inception. I do understand you did your research, but I'm not talking about just building some structures. I'm talking about surrounding that structure with a resource center, with library, with a place that includes training to upgrade your skills. So it's a real community. Community that includes a communal garden, vegetation. So what I'm talking about is not just building a bunch of buildings. I'm talking about surrounding the people with things that are actually going to lift them. So that's why I think what I'm talking about is different from just throwing some people in a project and then they all get targeted as a project, and you get that negative view of projects. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about designing a system where people actually feel that it's a real thriving community and have resources available in that community. That's what I'm referring to. But moving along, my friend actually, she has a container home, and I don't know how many Caymanians would actually consider it a container home. And have you done any research on the container homes? Do you know how many Caymanians would be?
I mean, I've only heard of like one or two, to be honest, even going up. I think the first one was only recently approved, maybe a year or a year and a half ago. And that person is still, it's close to completion from what I understand, but it's still not 100% completed. But I think they have moved in while the rest of it is being worked on.
So, I mean, I was amazed to see what that container can actually turn into. So, I mean, it is an option to consider. I mean, when you look at the home, you wouldn't guess that, it was designed from a container. So it is an option. The other thing we talked about last night was, while it would be terribly expensive in the long term, if you had something like a lifetime lease where the amount you're paying is very low, but it's for a lifetime and then passed on for another generation. Obviously, that would mean that with a lifetime lease, it would be terribly expensive when you compute the total paid over time. But that's a reality, right? But just as an idea, if it's the case that you're looking for something affordable throughout your lifetime, then it may be an idea to consider a low payment on a lifetime lease. Like I say, practically speaking, it's going to be terribly expensive in total, but not terribly expensive on a monthly basis. All these concessions that we've been not collecting, right? I mean, why not take some of them? Why not start to collect those concessions and perhaps subsidize low-income earners and purchasing homes? So that's just another idea, to subsidize the purchase of homes. If we can start creating reserves, the same reserves that we can use for emergencies, if we decide to think outside the box, we could create billion-dollar reserves. Some of that could be used to subsidize the purchase of low-income homes for Caymanians. We have to consider something, right? And I noticed that a lot of times when we sit down and we talk about ideas, I tend to hear people say, that's a good idea, but not that one. That's a good idea, but not that one. So we have to sit down and brainstorm as a country and come up with ideas and come up with solutions and actually pursue them, actually execute them. Because as you can see, we have a lot of things that have been sitting on the books that have not been implemented. We have a lot of consultant reports that have been shelved. Nothing has been done. Look at our development plan. We have a development plan dated 1977, and then I was updated to 1997. So since 1997, what's that? What, 20 years? Over 20 years? We haven't had an update to the 1997 development plan. But instead, what happens is, let's say you are a big developer and, call it special interest. What the government does then is they go and do some rezoning. So they do the rezoning as kind of like an amendment to the 1997 development plan. And then developer can basically go and do what they want. So what I think is happening in Cayman is we have this fast growing population. Think about it, right? When I was young, the population was somewhere around 25,000. The population now is around 70,000, right? So 25 to 70 is almost 3 times growth during my lifetime. 3 times growth, but where's the updated development plan, right? Because when you hear the government talk about development and population, they're bragging about development and how many plans they approve, and then they're talking about growing the population to 100K and 150K, but then they don't consider the impact on the infrastructure. For example, traffic. Look at the recent announcements of hospital going into Camana Bay and the other one that's around that area. You see West Bay is enjoying no traffic congestion basically now. So have they considered the traffic issue that's going to happen when they put up them new hospitals in that area? Have they considered it? So what I'm saying is we have all this development, but we're not really thinking long-term about the impact. So is our solution always going to try to build more roads? Because we don't really have a lot of space for more lanes. We can't do that. We can't do that indefinitely. We can't just import more cars when we create a new development that's going to bring thousands of staff from overseas who are going to want cars. All I'm saying is that we need to start thinking long-term about how things are going to impact us. And we need to start including Caymanians in the equation, because with all this development that the government is boasting about, can Caymanians actually afford anything in those developments? Because man, you need to see some of the prices I've seen, like $2 million for units going up. And it's like, I mean, if you're making less than $2,500 a month, how are you going to afford a $2 million unit? So it tells you that the development plan has to be updated. Our long-term impacts have to be considered. Otherwise, we are going to be excluded totally from the success story of Cayman. And also, we need to stop just thinking about the financial bottom line. We also got to think about the environment as well. So it has to be some kind of balance. I'm sure you remember, like 7 Mile Beach. There used to be a lot of trees in 7 Mile Beach. I just remember like where the hotels are now. We used to walk down there, and used to be a lot of trees. But as you can see, trees are being replaced by buildings, or trees are being moved to other areas. So there has to be a balance when you're doing development, because remember, tourists are also coming here for that feel, for that natural feel, for the island feel, to watch CMR live, to meet Stanley Hill live.
I'm pretty sure they can watch that from anywhere in the world. But someone just made mention on WhatsApp that we have partially subsidized tourism for the past 30 years. Discounts on the travel and environmental tax, discounts on tourism accommodation tax, forgiveness of tax on hotel sales, forgiveness on hotel furnishings, etc. It's time to redistribute those funds to local domestic education, health, housing. Yes, that is where it should be going. discontinue and cancel all hidden agreements and contracts. Let us demand that all candidates for election will do exactly that in order to get our vote. So that's one viewer's perspective this morning. Thank you so much for sharing that. A few others are coming in. Cameron says that we have more reports than Harvard. The mention of a lifetime lease isn't sitting too well with people. Andrea says, so with a lifetime lease, when you die, heaven forbid, what do you leave for your children? Will they now need to take out another lifetime lease? How do lifetime leases work exactly? They die with the person, right?
So, yeah. So, the idea is they would die upon that or upon the sale of the property. But like I say, it's only being considered because it would lower the payments during your lifetime, the monthly payments during your lifetime. But like I say, it would be a terribly expensive idea. So not so practical in the end, because if you look at the total that you're spending over the time, it's going to be far more than the value of the property. But in terms of affordability during your lifetime, then it was an idea to consider, meaning that your payments would be lower. But like I said, it would be a terribly expensive idea to consider when you consider the total that you're paying over time.
Okay. Denise says in relation to the container homes that a friend of hers checked it out, and it became an issue because the insurance was extremely high, because insurance companies have a view that it is a new concept to Cayman. Well, that shouldn't be that alone shouldn't be the reason why the insurance principal is so high. But I wonder if they have concerns with it during hurricanes. But to my understanding, it's still built to the same grade, in terms of whatever planning requires for safety, in particular, us being in the hurricane belt. So again, this is where I think, Denise, thank you so much for that comment, that we need to really reel in some of these insurance companies, and that should not be a basis for giving a quote just because something's a new concept. I mean, that just sounds crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, it's like you come up with a new idea and, it might be working for you, but then they throw in these things, right? The insurance higher. So your initial goal is to reduce your cost of living, and yet they want to increase the insurance. So it just shows you that these companies are thinking about profits before the people, right? It just shows you.
Yeah. Wow. Carol says it's hard to even access 7 Mile Beach now unless you live on it. Pretty sad. Sharon says, why don't they follow the Bermuda example where expats can't buy property under a certain value? Okay. Julie says they know what to say in relation to politicians. They know what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. Sharon, thanks for that, suggesting maybe they can't buy a condo under $250,000. Cameron says check out the housing policies in the Jersey. Jersey or Jersey? It says Jersey, but I wonder if she meant Jersey. Sharon says this would leave more property available for Caymanians. You know what, Sharon? Here's what I would see happening with that. The same Caymanians who are trying to sell their property will just inflate the price. So everybody would have it at that, whatever that mark is. If it's 250,000, I think you'd see a lot of properties going up to that level. I mean, to be quite honest, though, I know you're just throwing that out there as a random number, but right now it's difficult to even find anything under 250,000, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Alric, it is 9:30 and we do have to wrap up a little bit today. So tell us what you've got coming up in terms of meetings and any other events that people need to know about. And of course, people can always reach out to Alric. I'll find his details here because he always gives it to us. This is his contact information scrolling at the bottom. So what have you got next?
So today I have a meeting at C3 parking lot. That's where the Cayman Imports location is. Comair Drive and Walkers Road intersection. near the gas station on Walker's Road. So 7:30 tonight at C3, going to have a public meeting. So come on by and share your concerns, and let's get some resolutions.
Okay. All right, folks. So C3 is conveniently located right there on Walker's Road. You'll notice them because that's where Keyman Imports used to be, and they have all the big satellites and stuff up. So another public meeting for Alric this evening. Go and check it out. You've got an opportunity to speak to him directly, have questions answered, and so forth. So Alric, good luck at your meeting this evening. Good luck on your continued campaign trail. And you are coming up for the chamber debates. Let me just see, what day are you up for that? Let's see. Georgetown South. Where's Georgetown South? North Central.
Looks like near the end of March.
I think it got cut off because of the comment. Hold on. There we go. So March the 30th, Tuesday, March the 30th is going to be Georgetown South. Folks, this is the list of chamber candidate forum. So tonight is Thursday night. It's going to be Savannah. That should be interesting. So make sure you tune in for that. We do have a meeting this evening as well that we're covering for Michael Miles at the Seafarers Hall. So check out Michael's event. And Alric, we'll have to see if we can stop by you and just check on what's going on at your venue as well. So lots going on, folks, in the coming days. So again, big shout out to the chamber for putting on, despite the reduced schedule, for still being able to put on the candidate forums. Alric, have a good day and good luck tonight.
Thanks. Have a good day too.
All right, my dear. Okay, good folks. That wraps up another episode of the Cold Hard Truth. Pretty good show today, always. So again, lots and lots of events happening. Aussie's having an area meeting tonight. So that's like 4 events on tonight, quite frankly. You've got Aussie's area meeting. You've got the meeting for Alric that he's having by C3. You have the chamber debates, and you have Michael Miles likewise having a meeting as well. So busy, busy, busy as a bee. I think Sabrina, let me just check in with Sabrina. I think she wanted to come on briefly. Let me just make sure. Let me just check and see if she's ready, and we will bring her on. So Sabrina is actually having an event coming up this Saturday as well. So there's a lot going on for the weekend. So I'm already filling out my calendar with all of these wonderful events. Sabrina is actually going to be launching her headquarters, her campaign headquarters. So folks, this is amazing that she has been able to secure in her district. Let me just find her flyer here. An actual location for her headquarters. Austin, you said you couldn't find any place in the district. What is going on? So she's going to have her grand opening event. Wow. Headquarters already, an office already, like a constituency office on her own dime. Folks, where there's a will, I can assure you, where there's a will, there's a way. So she's inviting people to come out and join her. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday at number 33 Marina Drive. All right, she's probably busy. I'm not getting a response from her. Let me just see here if we can give her another minute or so. If not, we'll see if she can pop in. I think tomorrow morning she's actually going to be engaged otherwise, so she won't be on the program tomorrow with us, which is normally Friday is her normal slot. So again, everybody's super busy these days. Let me just see if I can grab her. Okay. All right. Well, she can't come on, folks. Maybe we'll get to her over the next couple days and just check in with her and see what's going on. Any other announcements this morning? I think that's pretty much it. Cameron says that I'm going to need a vacation soon. Yes, post election time, I think we're all going to need a little bit of a vacation. Maybe the BRAC. Maybe I'll be ready for a BRAC trip. Okay, Louis says cost of living, fuel, housing, and health insurance covering mental health, cap the fuel costs and create competition in the fuel industry by more owners owning the supply chain. So some suggestions there for assisting with the cost of living. So someone's asking if Sabrina's PPM. She's already addressed this issue more than once, actually. And I think we have to take, what she said at face value, because what she has said is that she was a community leader for the Prospect Community Group, participating or working closely with that group for some 10 years. And as part of that group, she had to work with the elected officials, and that included working with Austin, as well as it included working with Alden McLaughlin, who is right there in Red Bay. And she worked with them in that capacity, but she's not part of the progressives. And listen, if she was, let's use a little bit of common sense here, right? If she was, they would not be endorsing Austin. And Austin said last night on the debate that he is part of the alliance. So they can't have, they couldn't be supporting Sabrina and then have Austin as part of the alliance. That would be really stupid. And I'm sure if Austin had gotten wind of that, he would not be working with them. So I think that answers the question, hopefully, for everyone. Anybody else? Okay, I think that's it. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Keep it locked here to CMR. Big shout out to Miss Shirley. There she is with her CMR mug. We're going to post that up. What are you drinking in your mug today? And again, big shout out to Chad. Chad, hopefully he's going to come on the program and talk about his video that has now gone viral. And I want you guys to have an absolutely wonderful day. Oh, I think Sabrina was just trying to jump in. Sabrina, are you ready? We're ready for you, so come on back on. Okay, all right. We'll catch up with her. We'll catch up with her and do maybe a special little segment for Sabrina this morning. I know everybody's so busy. Anyway, folks, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.